Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle. Once again, it is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 the Midlands, heard around the world on the iHeartRadio application. Download today. It is free, and the website, you can put your .com on it. Doggone it. That's Clemson. SportsTalk.com. You can see it right there. 803-450-0086. Coming up on the program in hour two, Tim Beret, legendary Clemson SID, going to join us. He's actually going to be on the bus with the Clemson men's basketball team as they travel to the airport to make their way to Canada, take on TCU on Saturday. And that's not the Canada University. That's Texas Christian University. They're hooking up in Canada. And the Tigers come in off of the heels of a come-from-behind 72-67 victory with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Last night, Little John Coliseum was rocking. I mean, electric. Or maybe not rocking in the first half. maybe not rocking in the first half. The Tigers didn't exactly come blazing out of the gates. As a matter of fact, I had talked to Tyrese Ingram, who writes for us before the game, and I told him, I said, I know the South Carolina team's better than people expect, but I really feel like Clemson's going to win this game. And Tyrese said, man, I'll tell you what, South Carolina can really shoot the basketball. And he's right about that. He's right about that. That South Carolina basketball team, man, they came out of the gates hot. They were rolling. And I thought, man, I'll tell you what, if Clemson doesn't figure out a way to cool them down, this could be a long and rather surprising night for the Clemson Tiger faithful. Clemson trailed 30-23 at the break, down 7. A lot of the ambiance and buzz in the arena had sort of drifted. Clemson made a couple of runs, right? They made a couple of runs in the game to get back in it after falling behind, but even still, I don't think anybody was overly confident in the second half. South Carolina came out and jumped out to a quick 8-point lead. They led it 10-2 with 17 minutes and 22 seconds left in the first half. Clemson trimmed it back to 1 at 10-9 with 15:31. It stayed even until about 9:51. The Gamecocks went up by 7 again. They would also go up by 7 with 9:06 left. Then the pace of play really grinded to a halt. It was 23-16, South Carolina leading. And then Clemson would score just 7 points the rest of the way with 9:06 left in the first half. And the Gamecocks would score just 7. So over the final 9 minutes and 6 seconds of the first half of action, here's all you had. A Girard 3, a P.J. Hall layup, and a Shiflin layup to tie the game at 23. And then the Gamecocks go on their own 7-0 run to take a 7-point lead to the break that Clemson would overcome, the largest that they've overcome against South Carolina in the history of this series. But 30-23 and 6 total buckets between the two teams in the final 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Dare I say it felt sluggish at that point. 803-450-0086. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can. The show also airs live on Fox Sports Radio 1400, the Midlands. I really need a graphic for that, for those of you watching. And, of course, you can listen around the world there, or you can catch the podcast. If you are a podcast subscriber, thank you. If you are not, give it a shot. And I put out that video. Remember yesterday? Remember I said, I got this video where I did the show using my phone, and I want you to check it out and see what you think. That streamed this morning, okay? And it is available on all of our platforms. So Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, you can catch it there. Let me know. Do you like that format better? That look better? I know some people said, no, we really like the offset look, but I'm going to tell you, I don't love the camera quality that I feel like you get. Now, most of you might watch it on your phone, so you may not be able to tell. It may not make one hill of beans difference to you. And that's okay too. I mean, if you don't mind it, looking the way it looks, let me know that as well. That would be a nice little piece of feedback. You say, Swanee, I think you look great. Maybe not your face, but the quality. I would like to think my face and not the quality, but that's neither here nor there. For the South Carolina Gamecocks, they had a huge performance from Michi Johnson, man. He scored 25 points in the game on 6 of 10 from downtown, 8 of 16 from the floor, leading the way. But that was not enough to overcome an incredibly balanced attack from Clemson starting five. Chauncey Wiggins scored 15. P.J. Hall scored 14. Joe Girard and Ian Shefflin both chipped in 12. And Chase Hunter had 10. All 5 starters for Clemson finished in double figures. And Ian Shefflin added 12 rebounds on top of what he's done the past 2 ball games, where he had 14 and then 17. Now adding 12 to it. This guy called it Windex, Mr. Clean, whatever you want to call him. He is cleaning the glass right now. I mean, this guy, whether it's on the offensive end, defensive end, keeping the ball alive, I've compared him, and I know it's unfair to compare anybody to Dennis Rodman, because while I do think Rodman's game can be replicated much easier than somebody say, well, he's Michael Jordan, or he's LeBron James, or he's Steph Curry. Like, replicating those guys is nearly impossible. Replicating what Dennis Rodman did just takes the right frame and skill set and willingness to do that. And Shefflin's got a little bit of that in him. Stronger kid, getting more athletic. Has certainly gotten more athletic during his tenure at Clemson. His vertical leap, his touch around the basket is not what you get from P.J. Hall. But you also can trust him in some pretty big spots. But his ability to lengthen possessions with offensive rebounds, his ability to shut down possessions with defensive rebounds, I mean, that's an asset that when you're focused on a team game like basketball, where this is so different from football. And if you played the game of basketball, you certainly know this. And if you play the game of football, you may or may not recognize this. But basketball players have to do both. It's one of the games where you have to be an offensive player and you have to be a defensive player. And certainly if you're playing 1A football in this state, you're doing both. But you're picking up what I'm putting down. Even in soccer, it's really there's not really a great comparison. You've got your defenders, you've got your midfielders. Midfielders maybe kind of are like the basketball players in this capacity. In baseball, everybody's plays defense, but that's completely different. and everybody plays offense, but it's not something where you shift it back and forth. Matter of fact, let me think of sports. I said yesterday I don't know enough about lacrosse to really speak eloquently about whether or not it would have that kind of, if it has that aspect to it. But that's what I always loved about basketball was that, you had to do both, and you didn't have to be great at both. You needed to be, it'd be nice if you were really good at both or great at one and good at the other. But right now, that's kind of where this Clemson Tiger men's basketball team is. They've got guys who have the ability to score the basketball at an elite level. Joe Girard, to me, I said this to a buddy of mine last night. We were talking about, what he's brought to the table. And Alex Hemingway, let's take Alex Hemingway for a second, who's injured right now. But Alex Hemingway is a kid who can shoot the basketball. Okay. By the way, like, share, subscribe, hit whatever button you got to do, ring whatever bell, whatever it takes, and do us a huge favor. Follow us on TikTok. You can see the scroll below with that TikTok title going right there. Follow us on TikTok. That would be huge. Trying to get to 1,000 TikTok followers. And listen, in all honesty, with the reach we have on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, in one day we should be able to do it if you all would just go and do it. Like, call it a day. Because I need to get to 1,000. I got a notification earlier that said I got 99 new followers, 99 plus. So maybe all of you did that yesterday. But if you didn't, if that was a notification that was wrong, come on and do it today. Let's get that number up. But if you think about Alex Hemingway for a minute, he's a guy that really is kind of more known as a shooter, not really a great defender. And then I look at Joe Girard. And I think to myself, what this kid brings you is not just the ability to shoot the ball from the perimeter, which he does a pretty good job at, right? When he's hot, he's hot. He's 2 for 5 last night, but he's a guy that can go 5 for 6. But he can do it off the dribble. He can create. He's not as athletic, in my opinion, and maybe he is side by side when you watch him play, as Chase Hunter. But Chase Hunter kind of reminds me more of the good qualities of Russell Westbrook. I'm not a Westbrook fan, so I don't want to throw like the bad qualities of Westbrook on Chase Hunter. Chase Hunter, man, he could just attack the rim. He could defend at the rim. He's a very athletic, quick guy, can get to the basket. When he's shooting, when he's shooting from the perimeter, his jump shot, I mean, he's really getting up in the air. It's not a set shot like what you see more from Alex Hemingway. But Girard is a guy that's kind of a tweener in that respect, and he's very athletic. I think surprisingly athletic. Can create his own shot, and when he gets cooking, if you will, I think he's a great fit at Clemson and a great addition to what they want to do, given the fact that you've got Chauncey Wiggins, who's really come on, and Chauncey Wiggins is by no means a Hunter Tyson, but Wiggins last night, what was he? 3 of 5 from downtown, which is great for him for sure. But I think that Wiggins' athleticism and those things have been able to offset some of what you lost with Hunter Tyson. But the scoring has been offset by Joe Girard. And this lineup, you feature 2 guards who can get their shots and score. You've got a center who is as skilled as any big man in the ACC and one of the best big men that I believe has ever come through Clemson. And I know some people might think that's a stretch, but I'm just going to tell you, it is not. That's the thing that I think is just so impressive about PJ Hall. It's just his ability, whether he's facing up, whether he's catching the ball with his back to the basket, no matter where he finds himself on the court, he's got the ability to score. He can shoot from the perimeter. And we'll talk with Tim Bray more about PJ Hall and what he brings to the table for the Tigers. But ultimately, everybody's got a role. And they play it well, and they're a true team, and they've impressed the country with their 8-0 start. They'll get a chance to go up to Canada on Saturday and play TCU, and And look, if they come home a winner, that's fantastic. If they come home with a loss, that's okay too. Because the reality is, when you look at the full season, this team to me is what the majority of coaches in the country are going to label and are going to call they're a quote tough out. They're going to be a tough out when the NCAA tournament gets going. I mean, they are legitimately going to be a tough team to beat because of the balance that they have in their starting lineup. If Alex Hemingway comes back and gets healthy, that gives you another, potential score off the bench. I mean, there's just honestly a lot of positives that I see from this group. They're a very mature group in a sport that, because of some things we've obviously talked about here on this program, because of the one and dones and that nature of the sport, they are also a group that is, by comparison to other teams, going to run into some young, talented ball clubs at Duke and North Carolina, but you're a little more seasoned. And that's a big benefit for sure for Brad Brownell and this Clemson Tiger men's basketball team. So I'm anxious to see what they do against TCU up in Canada. I'm looking forward to talking to Tim Beret about what he expects to see from this group as they get ready for a weekend matchup. Again, it's Saturday at 4 o'clock. I believe it's on FS1, if my memory serves me correctly. But yeah, last night, Clemson knocking off the South Carolina Gamecocks 72-67. A come-from-behind victory for the Tigers and a balanced attack for Clemson. And I'll say this too. I didn't really mention this. I mentioned Michi Johnson. BJ Mack also scored 10. Stephen Clark had 10 for the Gamecocks. And a friend of mine who's a Gamecock, he said to me after the game, he said, "Man, I can't believe we lost that game." And the thing I told him, I said, "Dude, I'm going to tell you what, that South Carolina team, I know last year they had the G.G. Jackson kid. And they were so excited about G.G. This ball club right here would run G.G. Jackson and the Gamecock club that was out there a year ago off the court. That's a good basketball team. And in the SEC, I expect South Carolina at this point to have a really good season. They don't look like a team to me that's going to fall short of the NCAA tournament. I mean, I think they got a chance to make the tournament. If they play the way they played last night against Clemson, they'll be dancing in March. That's how good South Carolina looked to me. I was very impressed with the product that they had on the court. I can't lie to you. I mean, it's easy to, I think, sometimes maybe say, oh, well, maybe they just played up to their competition, yada, yada, yada. Man, I had heard good things about them. I had not really seen them a whole lot. But Lamont Paris has a very good basketball team, in my opinion, this year. I mean, if they end up with a bad season, color me shocked, because I would predict them to make the NCAA tournament based off of what I saw last night in Little John Coliseum. All right, quick break. We'll come back with more right here on a Thursday afternoon. Don't forget, Tim Beret joins us in hour number 2. Stay with us. So let me tell you, this computer's acting weird, man. It's got me a little nervous. I may just drop the stream here 20 minutes in, because I'm having trouble controlling my mouse is not coming over to the other computer, which is kind of a pain. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'll pick it back up with Tim Beret an hour or two, okay? We'll come back right at 5 o'clock here with Tim, but I'm gonna jump off. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully, this will straighten itself out, but I got 5 minutes, and I'm nervous, and I don't wanna put you guys in a bad spot. So, appreciate you. Y'all take care. Go Tigers.